This is Victor. Victor works at Fanatik and is a big fan of riding transition bikes. What Victor doesn't know is we got our hands on the updated 2024 Transition Sentinel. Victor is the perfect subject to ride the new bike and tell us how it compares to the previous model. Hey everyone, Rich here with Fanatik Bike, and we are in my garage with the brand new 2024 Transition Sentinel. Now, we are here and not at the shop because I'm actually trying to hide this bike from my coworker, Victor. If you've ever been on our website, fanatikbike.com, Victor is the man behind the scenes making sure everything runs. Victor grew up in Bellingham and has always been a fan of locally based transition bikes. Before working at the shop, he rode the original alloy Sentinel, and currently he is riding the V2 carbon version of this bike. I figure Victor is probably the best person to ride this bike and give his impressions of it because he's very familiar with the previous two models. We are going to kind of trick Victor a little bit, and that's why I'm keeping this secret. We told him that we wanted to film a bike check on his current Sentinel out in the woods, and so he's headed up to the hill with BK to film that, and I am going to ride the new bike up there, hide in the bushes, and kind of ambush him and show him the new bike and let him take it for a rip and see what he thinks. Let's get it. All right. While I am riding the new Sentinel up to the trail to catch Victor off guard and kind of surprise him with this bike, I figure why not run through all of the new features on the bike and maybe give you a little Sentinel history lesson. 2018, we saw the release of the original Sentinel and Transition's speed balance geometry philosophy. This was basically a longer, lower, slacker geo trend that we're kind of seeing on all modern bikes today. Then in 2020, we saw updates to the Sentinel, kind of went to the current generation that we are all familiar with those angular lines. They also bumped the travel up from 140 in the rear to 150. So the new bike has a very similar silhouette to the previous generation, but it does come with a few new refinements and slight geometry tweaks. So first up front, we've got new cable ports. On the old frame, this used to be molded into the carbon. It looked great, it was clean, but there were some times when it would rattle. With these new ports, you can screw them in, lock down those cables, and keep things from rattling. If you're running wireless drivetrains or wireless dropper posts, they will include solid ports to plug those holes up, keep grit and grime from getting in the frame. Another thing, if you look at the rocker link on the rear of the bike, it's now a one-piece rocker link. If you look at the previous generation, it was actually two different pieces, one on each side. That's gonna maybe add a little bit of stiffness in the new bike. Now there is a flip chip down at the bottom of the rear shock mount. It's got high and low settings, so you've got some options on the new Sentinel, which previously wasn't available. They do say if you are mixed wheel curious, you can run mixed wheels, and that flip chip might kind of help set that geo where you want it. So there's a little integrated mudguard over the lower pivot. This is going to keep dirt and rocks and grime from getting lodged in that area, and it's going to help to extend the bearing life. We also have a UDH rear end on the bike now. Stock, the bike will be coming with a 205 by 60 rear shock, and that's going to get you 150 millimeters of rear wheel travel. They are saying it is compatible to overstroke it with a 205/65 shock, and that'll get you 160 millimeters of rear wheel travel. On the seat tube, they do have a little graphic that has suggested sag ranges for when you're getting the bike set up, depending on which shock stroke you go with. So kind of nice little details there. Let's dive into the final kind of big frame refinement, and that is in-frame storage. It's like a requirement on most new bikes these days, and Transition has answered that call with what they are calling the boom box, and that stands for burritos or other munchies. Classic Transition acronym there. Kind of goofy, kind of funny, not taking themselves too seriously, because after all, this is just mountain biking. It is going to include two little bags that you can store like tubes, tools, and other snacks in there. Kind of sweet to see that in-frame storage added to the new Sentinel. The down tube is a little larger than the previous generation to accommodate that boombox, but it's not that massive either, honestly. You aren't going to be packing a ton of stuff in it, but you can throw some little goodies in there just to kind of help out with what you're carrying. So besides frame features, let's dive into updates to the geometry. If I'm being honest, I think that we have kind of hit the limit of that longer, lower, slacker geo trend. I think most bikes are kind of settled into where they're going to be. The new Sentinel is very similar to the old one in geo, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because this was already such a very capable bike. It did get about 5 millimeters longer in the reach, so this size large that we have went from a 475 reach to a 480 reach, spot on where I feel comfortable on the bike at 6 foot. The wheelbase went about 10 millimeters longer. So not a drastic change in that front. The head tube is sitting at 64 degrees. I think that's kind of that perfect angle for doing everything. It's not too slack, it's not too steep. You can ride everything and feel comfortable on it. Seat tubes did get steeper on the new model. This size large here, I believe the effective seat tube angle is 78.7 degrees. So that puts you in a nice, comfortable, upright pedaling position. You're not off that back wheel. Seat tube is also nice and low, so you can run those longer dropper posts. The biggest and most exciting change to the geometry on the new Sentinel is size specific rear end. So previous model, small through extra double XL, had a 440 chainstay. On the new model, small and mediums get a 442 rear end, and the large XL and double XL get a 448 rear end. They've kind of tuned that rear end to fit different sized riders more specifically and give them a more similar ride across the entire range. Finally, we are talking about the kinematics on the bike. They were revised on the new model. They are saying the leverage curve was changed, so now there's more support at the beginning of the stroke and kind of leads to a more lively, sportier feel. I do also think just pulling this off the bike rack felt lighter maybe than the previous model. I haven't thrown it on a scale or anything, but to me, it definitely felt lighter. That could also lead to a more sporty, livelier feel. We're about to get to the top, so I'm gonna go hide in the bushes and we're gonna surprise Victor with this bike.
Sweet. If you want to just do one take now and we'll kind of like practice through it, and then we'll do a real one.
Red is on. Mic checked. 1, 2, 1, 2. So just ready whenever.
Yep.
All right. Howdy y'all. My name is Victor. I'm the website manager at Fanatik Bike, and this is my Transition Sentinel. Damn it.
It's okay. We can do another.
All right, dope. Oh wow.
Hey, Victor!
What up?
Kind of thought something was up, maybe?
Yeah. No, not really. Oh damn, sick.
That's the new one. Since you ride that guy, I'm gonna let you ride this guy.
Sick.
And see what you think about the new bike. Did you have any inkling that I was doing this?
No, not at all.
Okay. I was like, man, he's gonna be so confused. Like, why are we filming a bike check on the old Sentinel when a new one's coming out?
Yeah.
So, yeah. There it is. I'll ride your bike.
Whoa, and I'll ride this bike.
You'll ride that bike. What trail do you want to ride?
I mean, we're right here at Dad Bod, and I just got married, so I might as well get ready for that. So.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I figure we'll throw a GoPro on you, maybe get some shots, let you ride it, and then you and me can chat about what you think about the new one compared to the old one.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Hell yeah.
All right.
All right, we are actually back at the shop, not in my garage, hiding this bike from Victor anymore. We surprised you out on the trail. Figured since you own a Sentinel, you were the best person to put on the new one to kind of check out the new bike, some of the new features, and the ride quality of the new bike compared to the old. So, Victor, what did you think about this bike? Let's start off with kind of some of the new frame features and what you were stoked on.
Yeah, definitely. You guys sure tricked me pretty good. The new bike is super awesome. It was fun to ride. Some of the features that I thought were pretty cool that aren't on my current Sentinel. Obviously the frame storage, you got a lot of bikes coming with that now, so it's kind of sweet that Transition got that on this frame.
I will say we've got a lot of different brands that we carry that have these boxes on them. So like Specialized in Rocky Mountain, I'd probably say have like the most storage to them. They're the biggest. And then the Transition and the new Ibis bikes that are coming with in-frame storage. It's not the biggest box.
I think just being able to throw some extra stuff in there and not keep it in my hip pack or backpack is pretty nice. So
Sweet.
I'm never carrying too much stuff on the trails. You know, having it be a little bit smaller than some other brands really bothers me.
Yeah.
But,
and you've got some nice little storage bags. I think you could probably fit a tubeless plug and like a small multi-tool. Maybe throw a bag of Sour Patch Kids in there.
Exactly.
Like they do call it the boombox, so burritos or other munchies. I don't know that I'm fitting a burrito in there.
Depends on where you go.
Yeah, it'd be a really small, like 2-bite burrito. I'd call it maybe more like the taquito box. Go to 7-Eleven, get some taquitos. What other features are we kind of stoked on?
The flip chip was pretty cool. Rode it in that high position. Felt pretty good on the trail. I liked how that bottom bracket was a little bit higher than my current bike.
Probably less pedal strikes with that higher bottom bracket.
Definitely. I noticed the bike was super quiet. That could probably be in part because of this, you know, the new cable routing clamps.
Yeah, the old one was like molded into the frames. Do you notice rattle on your current one?
Maybe like a teeny bit, you know, and I do notice it kind of moves around a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, this bike felt just eerily quiet compared to my current bikes. Rinsing the bike off, I did notice, you know, the way that the lower shock mount is now, it's a lot easier to clean out and just holds a lot less water and dirt in there, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that was a lot of people's kind of complaint on the old bikes was this little zone under the shock pooled up water pretty bad.
The little swimming pool, the loam pool.
Yeah.
It sprays out pretty nice, and yeah, I feel like just getting that cleaned out is gonna be a lot easier for sure. Speaking of loam, they got a little extra protection here for the bearings, which is kind of cool as well.
So actually riding it, you did get a good ride in yesterday on this bike. What are kind of your ride impressions of this bike compared to your previous model?
I went and kind of just did like a normal lap like I would normally do from my house. First thing I noticed is just this bike, it just pedals really smooth. It's got a good pedaling platform compared to my current bike.
They revised that leverage curve and it does sit a little higher in its travel kind of at that beginning stroke, so I'm guessing that's probably what you were feeling.
I felt just like pumping on some flatter single track felt really nice and just like zippy and responsive. A little bit more similar to the Smuggler that I was able to demo last year.
Funny you say that. Transition actually mentioned that to me when they were talking about the new leverage curve. They wanted it to be more similar to like the Smuggler, kind of more trail bikes. This is kind of like the aggressive trail bike, whereas the Smuggler is probably your less aggressive trail bike. So
yeah, totally. And you know, it felt really good climbing, super poppy and playful, felt fun in the air. Like I was clearing jumps without much speed. Got plenty of pop and speed, which was nice. It felt super composed too.
Yeah.
Just, you know, landing into some rougher stuff. It just kind of soaked it up and just felt like it caught me. It was nice.
That might be kind of that slightly longer wheelbase. It's not drastic. It's 10 mils longer than your old one. Longer wheelbase is going to give you more composed feel to it. 5 mil longer reach up front as well. Feels similar to your bike, but just a little better.
For me, it's just some minor improvements to the current Sentinel, some added features which are cool, and also just some adjustability, which I think for some people is going to be nice. You know, the option to be able to run a 27.5 rear wheel, being able to do high and low like I was talking about earlier. I was trying to hit the pedals on some spots climbing where sometimes if I don't have my right pedal position, I'll hit on my current Sentinel, and I had no issues there, which was kind of nice. When I got my current Sentinel, I was kind of looking at a Smuggler, but I knew I would just have one bike. And so I kind of wanted something with a little bit more travel so I could go do, you know, a couple days in park or whatever and kind of use it as a do-it-all bike. And so the Smuggler felt just a little bit undergunned for what I wanted. I kind of feel like this is a perfect blend of like, you know, better pedaling, but still really capable trail bike.
A lot of people are like, oh, I need a bigger bike, but something like the Spire is probably too much.
And that's the thing, I didn't want a Spire either because, you know, I do so many rides just on kind of more mellow trails up at Galbraith. Aspire just would be too much bike for me, I think. And
you can pump better on these kind of mid-travel. This is
and especially this one too. Like this one felt a lot just zippier and snappier, you know, going down trail and pumping into berms and stuff. It felt really nice.
Sweet. Yeah, I think kind of that 150, 160, 64 degree head tube angle, that's like that Goldilocks zone of you really can do everything on this bike. Sure, it's not going to be like the most aggressive park bike, but that's not why you're buying this. You're buying it because you want to pedal, you want to go on adventures, you want to do a lot of cool stuff, and that's what Victor does. So the real question is, new Sentinel, you've got the old one. What are you going to do with the old one?
I'm going to find a new home for it and try and get one of these into my home.
Sweet. Yeah. Like I had mentioned earlier, before you worked here, you owned the Alloy V1 Sentinel. You currently own the V2. And now the V3, right up Victor's alley. He's kind of our
like these bikes, they're fun. So.
Yeah, resident Sentinel guy here at Fanatik. So obviously we will have these bikes loaded up in our custom bike builder. Want to say thanks for watching, Victor. I'm glad we could surprise you, get you on this bike.
Yeah, it was a good kind of surprise.
If you've got any questions, leave them down in the comments. We'll let Victor answer all your riding questions there, and we will see you next time.
Later.
Thank you.